Minä olen filosoof Frank Martela ja se on minun uusi raamat Imeline elu. Unfortunately, my Estonian is not good enough to talk more about philosophical topics in the language, but my book A Wonderful Life came out in the March this year in the US, and now I was delighted to hear that the Estonian translation has come out and is now available in the shops, and this made me especially happy because actually my wife is from Estonia, and this means that that I spent quite much time in there, visiting her relatives, and even our first son was actually born in Estonia, in Tallinn. So I spent quite much time in Estonia, and it has a special place in my heart. But in this book, I kind of one of the key messages is that meaning in life is actually it's easier than we often think. That we easily think that the meaning of life is some kind of esoteric philosophical question, something like metaphysical and hard, and nobody can actually answer the question and so forth. But I actually make a distinction between two different questions of meaning. The question about meaning of life, which is a question about life in general. Does life in general have some purpose or some externally given meaning? But then there's the other question, meaning in life, which is a more personal question. It's a question about my own life and whether I do feel that my life is meaningful. So while this first is this very metaphysical question and a question that unfortunately I don't have a very good answer to, this second question, this question about personal meaning, how do I find my own life meaningful and worth living? This is a question I think we can give quite good answers to, and we can use the latest psychological research to figure out what are the things that actually make people feel their lives are meaningful. And there's been more and more research on this topic. I myself had done some of it, but many others have been doing it as well. And what we have been finding out is that actually most people already feel that their lives are very meaningful. So it's not that most people already experience their own lives as meaningful, and the meaningfulness tends to come from quite mundane things, quite everyday things. For example, I think that one of the key pathways in the book, I give 4 separate key pathways to meaningful living, and one of the key pathways is just close relationships. Having people in your life that you care about, whom you love, and who care about you. This is already what most of us get quite much meaningfulness from. So for example, as myself, I said I have 3 kids right now. They're 8, 6, and 4 years old. So it means that one key part of my meaningfulness in life is the ability to spend time with the kids. Be around with them. Play football with them, just that we did yesterday, or whatever it is that we do. I do with them. But spending time with the family, spending time with the kids. That's a big part of what makes my life meaningful right now. And even though it's quite simple to say that like that, still we often forget about it, and we prioritize other things more than we should be prioritizing, given that actually the family, the close relationships, the friends, that's what usually gives our life meaningfulness. As an example that I give in the book, this Sebastian Vettel, who is this Formula 1 champion, who won Formula 1 championship several times, he had this doctor, Aki Hintsa from Finland, who, before he became famous, or before he started his career, Aki Hintsa asked him to gave him paper and said that, hey, on this paper write the names of those people who are closest to you. Who are the people you would take to if you would be on a remote island for a couple of months, who are the people you wanted to be there with you? Write down names of those people, and then Aki Hintsa took the paper and put it in an envelope, and then later when Sebastian Vettel had became famous already, and at that point everybody wanted a piece of him, everybody wanted to hang out with him. Aki Hintsa gave me this envelope and said that, hey, remember these people were the ones who were there for you already before you became famous. Remember to invest enough time to be spent together with them. That will make your life feel more meaningful. So investing in relationships, that's one key pathway towards more meaningful existence. Contribution is other thing. Being able to somehow make a positive impact in the life of other people. Having somehow helping neighbor, for example, now during the coronavirus era, it could be that you help the neighbor with the groceries if they are like old enough that they're afraid of going to the grocery shop, or it could be taking care of the people, or your family or your friends, doing the dishes so that your spouse doesn't have to do them. Or it can be like bigger things that you feel that through your work you're able to make some positive contribution to your client's life or whatever. But like when we are able to have this sense that my life has a positive impact on others, that already tends to increase the meaningfulness of my own life. But these two things, these are about like connecting to other people, through relationships, through contributing. But at the same time, it's equally important for a meaningful living to be able to connect to yourself. Because without that, we are just like empty shelves. So the third and fourth pathways to meaningful living are more about, like knowing who you are and putting your talents and your mastery to use. So like knowing who you are, knowing what your interests are, and making sure that you make life choices which are based on your own interest, based on your own values, rather than just following the advice and like pressure from other people. Like if you live your life based on other people's values, based on what other people expect you to be doing, that sounds like an empty way of living, that the authenticity that is inside you is not realized. So that's a third pathway. And then the fourth pathway is about making sure that you make use of your talent, make use of what you're good at. Know what you're good at and try to develop yourself, try to figure out what are the ways through which you can use your own talent to make the world a better place, or make like some kind of impact. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Of course, like in the book I have much more to say about each of these pathways, but that's in a nutshell where the meaningfulness in life comes from, in my opinion. Not from some remote grand things, but more these everyday things like hanging out with your friends, being able to help somebody close to you, being able to do some things that interest you, and being able to develop your skills and utilize them in different activities. So that's how simple it is actually to living a meaningful life. And in the end, even though meaningfulness is a great goal in life, but still in the end, just one last thing I want to say, that that we shouldn't actually think about our lives as projects. That in the modern Western world, we too much think about our lives as some kind of project with some goals, end goals there, and we optimize our life to get to the goal. So in a way, we become instruments of our own goals, and the life that we are living, we lose track or lose contact with the life as it's experienced, and we instead just focus on the goals. And against that time, I want to remind you of the wisdom of this Alan W. Watts, this famous Zen master, who said that we should think about life as music. And when you think about music, the point of music is not to get to the end as soon as possible. If you have some Beethoven symphony or whatever song, the point of the song is not to get to the end point as soon as possible. The point is what happens during the song, when the song is playing. And that same applies to life. Life is not about getting to the end as soon as possible. Life is about what happens before that, what happens during, when the music is still playing. So that's kind of my final message to you, is that if you're listening to this, then the music is still playing for you. So go out and dance and live and let the music flow. So have a more meaningful rest of the year.